At this point, an alternate title for this channel could be Becky Tries on Weird Gloves. Hello, everyone. You ever see something in the store and think, that's so stupid, but I have to buy it? This was in the as seen on TV section of my pharmacy. And I was like, what's the big deal about having gloves that are infused with cannabis? It doesn't make sense. And on the bottom of the box, it says, complies with federal law, cannabis fibers contain no detectable THC or CBD, which means these gloves aren't going to get me high. But if the gloves aren't going to get me high, then what was the point of mentioning that they have cannabis in them? But I bought them because I want to see what it's like to knit with them. And as a comparison point, I got another set of compression gloves to see what it's like to knit with compression gloves on. This was also in the as seen on TV section. This has copper in it instead. But we are going to open it up and see. They don't really smell like how I expect cannabis to smell. That one's clearly for the left hand. Oh, this is really tight. This is like super tight, man. All right. First cannabis glove is on. According to the ingredients, this is like 80% cotton, 11% spandex, and only 9% hemp, but the hemp is the only thing they're really advertising. There you go. Super snug. Which I guess is what you would want from a compression glove. Ooh. All right. My fingers feel like sausages right now. Like, the part that's inside the gloves is fine, but the part of my fingers that are sticking out, it's kind of like... I would say the sensation is very similar to wearing a bra that's a couple sizes too small. You can fit in, or like wearing a pair of jeans that are too small. You can fit into them, but it's like compressing like the other like fatty parts of your body up. And that part does not feel comfortable. It's 4, 8, 9, 10. There you go. We got the 10 stitches on. Yeah, can you see how red my hands are getting? Is it possible to see? Like, my hands are like redder than the rest of my body, but they're not that red. Not that red. I mean, there's the first row. There we go. Wait, excuse me for a moment. Gesundheit to me. All right. So we have, like, it did not affect my knitting ability in the slightest. I was still able to knit. But I feel like the circulation's being cut off to my fingertips. And you might be saying, hey, Becky, did you get the right size? Well, this is the sizing chart. Yes, I got the size the box recommended. So, let me see. So, yeah, I mean, maybe if I was in more pain, this would have served me. But right now, I'm just worried for my circulation, so I'm just going to take these off. Around my palm, it felt perfectly fine. It fits my palm perfectly fine. And the wrist part isn't bad either. It was a bit linty. So now I'm just going to purl on the knit row. So I can use like the same piece of knitting to compare with the other compression glove. Because I mean, you need a control group, right? There we go. So now we have our comparison point. We're going to open up the other box, which the gloves are already kind of poking out. One, two. Ooh, this one's a little bit different. It's got like a little wristband around it. Don't know what that's for. Already looks smaller than the other type though. Ah. Oh, that's like tighten it around the wrist. Okay. This one makes me feel like a superhero, kind of like Spider-Man with the, because this kind of looks like the webs. Okay. I mean, with this, I can't just pull it off now. The compression glove just might be causing that thing to my fingertips in general. The material feels a lot thinner than the Cannabis gloves. Although I don't know where the copper is. Like with copper, I kind of expect there to be like some sort of brown, like if not a brown like wires per se, but like a brown thing. Maybe I would guess that's in here, but this feels more like silicone. Anyway, let's do 2 rows here. We're going to start with a purl one here. Okay. This is actually causing more pain for whatever reason. Because I think it's because of that. Ooh. Maybe make that looser. Like that was compressing a little bit too much on my wrist and my wrist was starting to hurt. It'd be kind of ironic if if the products that are meant to solve pain end up giving me pain. That would be kind of ironic. Hey, then you'll stop getting the tape. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't affect my knitting ability any. I mean, I still feel like the compression effects, although I don't feel... This material feels like it has more give, so it's not like compressing me as much as these guys did. Maybe I'll have to wait till I'm actually in pain before I try these again to see if they're actually worth it, which could happen if I lift things unsafely at work tomorrow, which honestly it's not worth it. It's better to lift things up safely. Alright, so I decided to revisit this challenge because the last time I tried the compression gloves, my hands felt perfectly fine. But this is like a couple weeks later now, and I just had a very physical day at work. After a night where I wound 12 skeins or around 12 skeins into hanks, so my wrist hurts now, which means the compression gloves might actually do their job. So we're going to try these gloves first. See, like, do they actually help with the pain while I'm knitting? I did just try to knit like a control group here, which it actually didn't really hurt my wrist that much when I was doing it. But it's also, I'm not really lifting any like 12 packs of drinks at the moment. So this is clearly not as heavy as that. We're gonna do a couple of rows with these gloves, and it feels like they've loosened up a bit. We're gonna see. They do not feel as tight as they did before, but I also think it is cooler outside than it was before, and that may have had something to do with it. There's our knit row. Oh, actually that was a purl row. Now we're going to do a knit row. My fingers do not feel as much like a sausage as I was expecting the first time that I wore these. I mean, I'm feeling it now because I'm nosing it, but also, I mean, it feels better than it did. But you can see this was the control group where I did it without the compression gloves on. This is the part where I did it with the cannabis gloves here. And yeah. The tips of my fingers are now starting to feel weird again. Now that part is just like setting in. It's kind of numb. But just kind of. Didn't affect my knitting any, but I mean, my wrists still feel like the same. Also, I probably should mention that I just did work a 10-hour shift at work, which means I'm kind of sleepy, and that means my mind is kind of fried at the moment. So, going to try the other compression gloves now. We're going to see how that goes. If I get like the same vibe with like a wrist. Although my wrist does feel a little bit better at the moment. So we're just going to knit this row. Okay. Just so we have a ridge between these compression gloves and these compression gloves. All right, there's our ridge row. Time for the copper gloves. This actually goes around the wrist now. Wonder if that's going to help. Ooh. My fingers are still feeling the squeezy thing. All right. Let's try knitting a couple rows and seeing how that goes with the copper gloves. After a night of lifting up heavy objects and scanning barcodes. There's our first row. Oop, hit the lamp by accident. Whoops. Yeah. I mean, the 3 rows look like the 3 segments. No compression gloves, cannabis compression gloves, copper compression gloves. They all look identical. As for my wrist though, I mean, the fingers still feel like sausages. Surprisingly, I think the copper ones may have gotten tighter. Maybe. Although maybe my hands are still adjusting to the compression gloves. Like, when I put on the other set of gloves, I hadn't been wearing compression gloves before that. But going from one set of compression gloves to the other thing still leads to like the sausage effect, even if it's just like a second. My wrist felt fine. For the most part. I mean, it's just like a dull pain at the moment, but it didn't stop me from knitting. If I had attempted knitting much sooner after I'd been lifting the objects, it would have hurt a lot more. It's hard to know if these are doing their job or not. Or like what it is that they were supposed to do. Like, I'm filming this second segment in order to give them more of a fair chance of doing the thing that they're intending to do, but I'm not sure that they're doing that for me. Anyway, that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.